This ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 97.5.com podcast is presented by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens.
Joining us right now, courtesy of Legacy Fighting Championship, Mr. Mick Maynard. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday morning. Welcome to Game Day. How are you?
Good. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for having us, man. Good morning to you.
Hey Mick, have you licked your sweat?
Have I done what?
Have you licked your sweat? Have you ever licked your sweat? That's a thing that they're teaching NBA rookies, to lick your sweat.
Lick your sweat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? I know you train.
I don't think purpose.
Now, for those,
sweat gets in my mouth all the time when I train. Unfortunately, I never know if it's mine or someone else's, which is really nasty.
Yeah,
that's
best
the
to pass
worst.
then at that point.
Yeah, that's the worst part of training, isn't it?
Oh man!
For those that don't know, Mick Maynard, your official title is we were saying owner, president. It's probably both, but officially president of Legacy Fighting Championships, correct?
Yeah. I get called lots of different things, but that's the nicest ones for sure.
That's the nice. Now, a lot of guys don't know, or a lot of people don't know that you actually train full time. You fought. You had a Muay Thai fight about a year ago or so, but you train. You're a brown belt.
I'm a brown belt
in jiu-jitsu.
Brown belt jiu-jitsu as well. So yeah, I stay very active.
Which is cool. I think that keeps you really grounded into the sport. It helps you understand what the fighters go through as far as cutting weight and training and so forth. So do you think that helps you when you're dealing with the sport itself and the fighters and the matchmaking and all that?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. It develops relationships as well. When I go into, as you know, we've branched out into other states and cities this year, and whenever I go into these other places, I try to make time to go into to visit some gyms and spar a little, roll with the fellows or whatever, and it helps. Whenever you get crazy as it sounds, anytime someone punches you in the face, you automatically become closer.
So you actually are out there sparring with some of the guys that are fighting on your shows?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they're fighting on the show that week, probably not, just because it's too close and they're not sparring anymore.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the other guys that we have on our roster and so forth, absolutely. We just spent some time up at Octagon MMA and. It was a couple months ago, and I got to spar with, George Paparau and all of those guys, you name it. I got to get in there with them a little bit, and it's always fun. Brad Mitchell, Rashad Coulter, Damon Jackson, all of those guys.
Nice. Now, you said you guys are doing shows out of state now. That's a big leap for a regional promotion, isn't it? I mean, you guys started in Houston. I think your first full year as a pro promotion was all Houston shows, and then and that was in 2010 was your first full year. You did, I think your first show was at the end of 2009, but your first full year was all Houston. Then you kind of went to Dallas. Now you're spreading out. You do shows all over the state, and now you're in new states. Talk about that growth. How has that been for you guys?
Anytime you're moving outside the expenses, even though I think we're doing well and we're one of the larger MMA promotions now. There's such a huge divide between the UFC and everybody else. So and obviously they have a budget as well they have to stick to. But for us, it's a little bit, obviously it's a little bit tighter. So anytime you go out of town, there's a lot more expenses and there's a lot more things to consider. You don't know the people as well. You don't know the I guess the general area as well. You don't know how many people are into fighting and so forth. So it's always a gamble. Well, we've been fortunate to develop some great relationships with several casinos, and that really helps ease the burden, I guess you could say, because they already had the venue and things of that nature. And it's been incredibly successful. In fact, our shows do very, very well. Obviously, in Texas, that's our home, and so we pretty much always have good shows whenever we're here. But our shows in Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico, so far this year have been amazing. They've been some of our best shows ever. And then, of course, we go into Mississippi in a couple of weeks. So at the moment, it looks as though that Mississippi show's already sold out. That's 3 weeks out.
Nice. And now, obviously, the Access TV deal had a lot to do with you guys and your growth, correct? How has that been by being able to showcase some of the local talent that was here in Houston and putting them on the nation stage, so to speak, for MMA? Yeah,
I mean, the TV deal changed everything. It went from, that's basically what's blown up the company so much. But we knew all along that's what we needed to do. So we were seeking that TV deal for a while. And, fortunately we just kept growing and kept on putting on better cards. And, eventually we got noticed, we got picked up and got a national TV deal. I mean, it's been huge. It's been everything, really. So we're obviously very excited, and we just want to keep it moving.
Now, you talked about a little bit, you mentioned the UFC. You guys have lost a ton of fighters to the UFC. And I know knowing you, I know that that's a mixed reaction for you. Talk a little bit about how that feels to see fighters that are on your roster get that call or get that offer to go fight in the UFC.
I think that I've honestly lost count. I used to be able to tell you exactly how many we had going there. Now I've stopped counting. I really think it could be 30, 40, 50 people now. I don't know. Every single card, people don't realize there's usually somebody that was a legacy fighter on that fight card. And it is a great feeling. I love seeing these guys go on. And the UFC offers something. All of these organizations, Bellator, it doesn't matter who they are. They all say, we're not a feeder to the UFC. And, forget the UFC, this and that. But the truth of the matter is everybody is. They always can spend more money. They're giving out $50,000, $100,000 locker room bonuses. I mean, these are life-changing opportunities for these guys, and to hold them back would not be the right thing to do. Now, that said, our goal is to be able to get to a point where we keep them around a little bit longer and to make it a little bit more difficult so that the market is at least competitive. And I think a good example of that was Holly Holm. Holly held out because we paid her well, and she had great opportunities with us, but so she was able to say no to the UFC for quite a while. And in the end, they had to, pony up the big bucks to get her. So I think that's the way it's supposed to be. That's healthy. And so we're doing our part to make that happen. What I really like is, you mentioned before about the fighters, the local fighters against the bigger names. That's really the goal. I mean, it's getting some of these guys that otherwise would not be known and putting them up and testing them against people that are known, and then, bam, everybody's known. And
guys like that on the roster would include Daniel Pineda. We mention them all the time. Derek Lewis, Andrew Craig. These are all guys that have fought for you that started here in Houston, that became a champion for Legacy, and then eventually moved on to the UFC, all thanks to the opportunities that you guys gave them.
Absolutely. You got Carlos Diego, and, of course, you got Holly Holm, and there's a huge list. I always lose count of how many people there are. It's pretty cool. Real
quick, you've got something coming up in 2015. You guys are branching out into something outside of MMA, correct?
Yes, we are. We're actually going to get into the kickboxing realm. Kickboxing is really my background. That's what I fought. It's been an amateur kickboxing and Muay Thai. So I'm pretty excited to be able to bring that to Houston. We're going to get into the professional kickboxing event ring, I guess you could say, or promotion business as well. If those who haven't seen it, if you've ever watched Glory or K1 Rules, it's extremely exciting. It's continuous, what people like to see: punches, kicks, knockouts.
Yeah, Muay Thai, for a lot of people don't know what Muay Thai, they call it the art of 8 limbs because you can use your elbows, your knees, you can punch, you can kick, there's throws and dumps. It's taking boxing and karate and kickboxing and kind of combining it all. And maybe even a little bit of judo, but it's really an exciting and fast-paced martial art.
It is, and the rules that we're going to be putting in, it actually won't be elbows, and it'll be a quick clinch, so it'll be even faster and more continuous than traditional Muay Thai.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Now, is that going to be on Access TV?
You know what? We're talking to them about broadcasting it live, and we're talking to a couple of other people as well. It's different, so because it's not part of the deal that we have with Access TV, and fortunately we've been able to grow our name. We've gotten some interest from several different people, so we'll see what happens.
Very cool. Now I got to ask you, did you see the Jones-Cormier scuffle?
Yeah.
All right, now have you ever staged something like that to promote a fight?
I never have. I'm not really into it. I guess in terms of promoting fights, I've always tried to let the fights speak for themselves. I've never been real one to be speaking outlandish and crazy things, and I've never been one to create that type of thing either. If it happens, it happens. I just think fighting should be as pure as possible. It's the purest of sports, and at the end of the day, they got to get in there and punch each other in the face, and it really doesn't matter what anyone says. So I never stage anything like that. As far as I think that was good for the sport, because I know that's come up several times. It seems like that's the top of conversation. It's great for the sport.
Now, everybody thinks that John Jones is like this angel and the saint. Did you hear the behind-the-scenes conversation between him and Daniel Cormier on ESPN? I want to run this real quick. I want you to take a listen to this real quick.
All right.
Hey, are you still there?
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. You're just the fakest person. I actually admire that you can actually be this fake. And, like, when the TV comes on, how you can just change. It's like you're a chameleon.
Hey, listen,
it's awesome.
I'm a professional.
It is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
The fact that you're a hasn't changed.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how fake you can really be. Like, you are just such a my God. It is amazing. It is amazing. But you know what? Hats off to you. You got a great PR person. Because they do a great job with training you because you are just terrible. You're the scum of the earth. You are a terrible human being, but you can sure turn it on, huh?
Thank you.
I wish they would let me next door so I can spit in your face.
You know I would absolutely kill you if you ever did something like that,
You
right?
could never kill me.
Oh, I bet you I could.
Then you should try, John. You really should try, John.
No, I would literally kill you if you spit in my face.
Yeah, let's try that, John.
Literally kill you.
Let's try that, John.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I said I would kill you if
John,
you did some stupid shit like that.
So, John, do you think I'm just going to sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
Holy cow. Now, Mick, tell the truth. Were you one that thinks that John Jones is what his public image is? Did you expect that? Did you see that coming?
Honestly, none of that stuff shocks me that much. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we got to spend a little bit of time around John Jones, and more so I got to see him when we were up at Albuquerque earlier this year, and he was cool. I mean, Colin Cantrell, our MC, spent some time with him, and he was a great guy. And then, of course, when he was at the fight himself, he was recording Holly like he was a fanboy, and he was very much into it, So I don't know. The side that I saw of him, he seemed like a good dude. But he's got his game face. He's intense. And I just don't see anything wrong with any of that stuff. I think that...
You don't see anything wrong with saying I will literally kill you?
Well, I mean, spit in your face. Spit in someone's face. Don't spit in your face.
All right, well, who you taking? We're going to wrap it up, but who are you taking? Who you got in that fight?
Mike Tyson threatened to eat people's children.
Well, that's true. That's true. Who do you got in the fight, Cormier or Jones?
I got Cormier.
Oh, nice. Everybody's picking Cormier.
I love Cormier. So I just think he's an awesome ambassador for the sport, and I think he's a great guy, and I think he's got what it takes to ruin the John Jones party. Here's one thing, though. I will say this, and Daniel will say this as well, and this is a big deal, I think, in sports, which is why the Texans concern me. But anyway, that's a whole other subject. He has never won at the highest level. He's been at the highest level. He's competed at the highest level, but he has never, ever finished first. And that's a big deal, whereas John Jones has.
Good point.
Over and over. That's Mick Maynard from Legacy Fighting Championship. Check them out at legacyfights.net. Upcoming events here in Houston, November 14th for Legacy Fighting Championship 37, and then the amateur event on December 12th. Thanks so much for joining us, Mick. We'll hope to have you back down the line sometime.
Hey, thanks for having me. Have a great day.
You too, Mick.
And thanks for the tickets and the T-shirt for our fantasy league. Yeah.
That too.
Very cool.
Very cool.